Hi there, my name is Owen Small, Research Assistant with the ForES project. Welcome to the first of two webinars presenting the tools and methods we're developing to help optimize ecosystem services in Irish forestry. Today we'll be discussing our natural capital accounting ecosystem accounting methods, and for that I'll pass it on to PhD researcher Kathleen Conroy.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Conroy, and I am the PhD student on the Forest for Ecosystem Services, or the ForES project. This is a DAFM-funded project and a collaboration between Trinity College Dublin, University College Dublin, and Coillte. The goals of the project are to measure ecosystem services provided by forests and understand how they can change over time. One way to track these changes is by creating ecosystem accounts, which can track changes in extent, condition, and ecosystem services provided. I will talk today about the development of the extent and condition accounts, and my colleague Owen will then speak on the development of ecosystem service accounts. Two major deliverables for the ForES project, and they are the creation of ecosystem accounts for 25 forest sites and the creation of a decision support tool. There is another video that speaks on the decision support tool, and today's video will just focus on the accounts. 25 forest sites were selected by our partners. We requested that these sites be diverse in their size, species present, and management. And we wanted to make sure that they incorporated the 4 pillars of forestry, which were forest for climate, forest for people, forest for nature, and forest for wood. Now, to actually create the ecosystem accounts, we used the SIA-EA approach. SIA-EA stands for System of Environmental Economic Accounting Ecosystem Accounting, and this approach was ratified by the UN in 2021, and the physical accounts are taken as an international standard. One of the things that sets SIA-EA apart from other frameworks is its required mapping approach. So an account is accompanied by a map. The ForES project focuses on creating the 3 different physical accounts, that is, ecosystem extent accounts, ecosystem condition accounts, and ecosystem service accounts for our 25 sites. The extent accounts were created first, and they were the most straightforward accounts to create. The boundaries of the sites were defined and clipped to the boundary of a land cover map, and then the area of the land cover map type was recorded for the site. Here's an example of an extent account map. Here's one of the test sites in the land cover type in the year 2000 and 2018 using Korean land cover map as the land cover map. Here we can see that the land cover changes over the 18 years. This visual representation allows people to understand where these changes are occurring. Here is the account for that same site. The land cover classification is noted, and the beginning extent, which is the area in hectares for the year 2000, and the closing extent, which is the year 2018. Again, it is showing what the maps are showing, it's just a different representation of the same information. The minimum mapping unit of Korean, one of the land cover maps we use, is quite coarse. It has a minimum mapping unit of 25 hectares. And this is problematic because forests in Ireland can be rather small, so we felt we might be losing some detail by using just the Korean maps, and decided we would also use the National Land Cover Map, which was created for the year 2018. However, because it is just one year point, we created something that we are calling extent snapshots, as we're looking at just that one point in time. It is seen as the starting point, and we hope to have full extent accounts using National Land Cover Map when more National Land Cover Maps come out with their finer resolution. So again, here is the same site that we've been looking at before with the Korean maps. However, now we're using the National Land Cover Maps. And as you can see, there's a lot finer details, and we can see really what is going on here. There's a lot of also different kinds of land cover that wasn't seen in the more coarser resolution of Korean. Here is the site extent account for the year 2018, just for that site. We created these accounts again as a starting point, so when more National Land Cover maps are made available, then proper extent accounts can be made for these sites. So that was how we create extent accounts, and now we're moving on to a different type of account, which is called condition accounts. So condition accounts were also made for the 25 sites, and what condition accounts try to do is capture how the quality of the site is changing over time. So the SIA-EA does not have a set list of variables to use, but they have 6 ecosystem condition typologies that the variables must satisfy. They are physical state, chemical state, compositional state, structural state, functional state, and landscape. Based on the data that was made available to us, we were able to find 12 variables to include in the condition accounts. These accounts were created was that the raw data was collected from the variables, rasters, or shapefiles using R. Then the data was transformed. It was normalized based on ecosystem class, based solely on Irish data collected for that class. Then it was weighted. Then it was multiplied by the area of the polygon. Once the values for all the polygons were taken, the mean was taken based on ecosystem class.
Thank you, Kathleen. Picking it up from the condition accounts, we finish off with the ecosystem services accounts. These are the benefits ecosystems provide to people and are generally arranged in 4 categories: provisioning, regulating, supporting, and cultural. For our project, our services were selected based on 4 pillars chosen by stakeholder surveys and are in line with the Irish Forestry Strategy 2023-2030. These pillars are forest for wood, forest for climate, forest for people, and forest for nature. Having identified our project's 4 pillars, we then needed to select and define specific services within each pillar. Forest for wood, we use wood provisioning services, or more simply, the timber provided by a forest site. In the forest for climate pillar, we use climate regulation services, a forest ecosystem's ability to sequester carbon emissions. Forest for people is defined through recreation services. Is the site frequented by walkers, cyclists, birders, or any other recreational users? And lastly, forest for nature pillar is defined through nature provisioning services. These are the tangible products beyond timber that can be provided by woodland ecosystems. Currently, ForES is developing site-level accounts for each specific ecosystem service that we have defined. We hope when these are complete, the methods can be widely replicable and applicable to Irish forest sites. The goal is for these methods to be a tool to use in tandem with other ForES project outputs, such as our decision support tool for ecosystem services in Irish forestry. Follow for the release of our next webinar that will discuss this in greater detail. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for our next webinar and follow ForES on LinkedIn and Instagram to stay up to date with our project outputs.